Okay, so we are live. You taking pictures?
No.
I think you were, or you were looking at your phone whilst we're live in the
I
Facebook.
was taking a picture. I was taking a
Yeah,
picture.
you're taking a picture. Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm going to introduce you in a moment, Alastair. But can you tell me, why were you taking a picture? Because we're live in the Content Lounge, and everything is all about content marketing. What was the picture for?
So the picture was to put it on social media, but actually, if I turn my screen round, right, I was having to do it at a certain angle because we just had work done, so I was trying not to get the ladder in the background.
Okay, nice. It's all about the framing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about what's in frame is
Yeah.
important. And actually, that's a good point, because around the sides of a video camera or of an article or whatever it is could be utterly chaotic.
Exactly.
And actually, it's about getting it in the shot. And I think that's also, it's fine to be like that. It's about kind of framing the shot and kind of capturing that.
And I will completely concur, because if I show you there, I've got a chair that needs to go down to the other house. I've got stuff, that's a mess. If we look behind me, I've got another chair with a mess behind me. Yet here, it looks super professional, doesn't it?
I like your glow light behind you. I need to get a glow light behind me, I think.
Yeah, they're great. They are. And actually they're party lights. They cost 20 quid off Amazon, and I can change the colors. I can have them flashing. I can do all sorts of things.
I'll have to invest in one of those.
Yeah, they're super cool. Anyway. I would like to introduce you first of all. We are live in the Content Lounge, and I am live with Alastair Barlow, who is Chief Dreamer at Flinder. And Flinder are a fantastic accounting firm that has absolutely pioneered their way forward and driven the past sort of 3 years. Are we coming up to 3 years now, Alastair, with Flinder?
Yeah, 3 years, and it's our 6th month. Yeah, so
yeah. Amazing. And they are a huge data-led company, accounting firm, I would call them. However, let's talk about why we don't have them as typical accountants as well, Alastair. And Alastair's here today to talk about content marketing. I've worked with Alastair for a couple of years. We haven't worked closely together in the past year or so, but for a couple of years we worked together, and I helped him with marketing, and he absolutely smashed everything that I told him to do, and came up with his own ideas, which has enabled him to grow fantastically. So Alastair, welcome. Hello. Have I missed anything on the intro? Is there anything that you would like to say about yourself and Flinder?
I would say that whilst we're a regulated accounting firm, right, as you know, most people on this probably are, we call ourselves an accounting, consulting and data analytics business, which actually serves a little bit more to what we do as a business, rather than just as an accounting firm. So I think that's also very important for us, kind of the mindset that we have around what we do and what we deliver, and what I instill in our team is we don't just file accounts, we don't just deliver financial information, we help our clients meet their objectives and meet it faster. And we do that through the different kind of channels that we have of running finance functions for our clients, consulting and transforming businesses. And that's, there's this myth around what is advisory, what is consulting. And I think there's been a lot of chat around that lately when going through coronavirus times, people are picking up the phone and talking to their clients more. And actually that's advisory in its kind of purest sense. But actually, as a consulting firm, we're in the business of understanding where our clients currently are, what the gaps they may have, where they want to get to, and we actually help them on that journey to get to that. So that is very much, we very much are a consulting business as well. And then delivering data analytics. So for us, the reason we were actually born as a business was we saw a gap in helping businesses understand what's going on in their business, and helping kind of almost reveal the insights that they have there. It's their own data, right? It's replaying. And actually the best consultants in the world just take someone else's ideas and replay it to another company, right? That's what a consultant is, really. But the data analytics side of things is very, very important to us. It's about being different in the market and delivering insight back to our businesses. So I think that's kind of probably describes us a bit better. And also, one thing that I think is probably pretty important and relevant is that we look at Flinder first as a brand, then we look at it as a business, and only third do we look at it as an accounting firm, right? And I think that is the mindset that we have always had when we came into the market. Obviously, you helped us crawl, you helped us walk in kind of those early stages on marketing, but very much we look at ourselves as a brand, and everything we do is around brand. I mean, we track every time we're interviewed. I have a dashboard that tells me a load of metrics. It'll tell me how many interviews we've had this month, and magazines we've appeared in It'll tell me over time, month by month. It will tell me how many webinars we've been on. It'll tell me how many live shows. Obviously, not as many live shows at the moment. It normally peaks in May when Accountex happens, right?
Yeah.
In terms of live events, it'll tell us how many times, any type of exposure we've had with someone. It'll tell us exactly how many, because for us, it's about brand, and brand voice is really, really important for us.
Okay, can I stop you very quickly? What does brand mean? So I get it, but many of the people who are listening today are like, what do you mean brand and accountancy? What does that even mean to you, Alastair?
Yeah, so I'm not as fluffy as I'm an accountant by background, right?
Yep.
So I probably can't explain brand as eloquently as you
No,
can.
but explain it in a way that they'll understand is perfect.
But I think that the best way to explain this is, so one way I heard is, it's the way people will talk and describe you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
And then someone else will know who you are from the way they describe you, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody was talking about a business that talks a lot about data, that is works with fast growth businesses, that cares about being entrepreneurial, that has fun and going on ski trips, that does all these kinds of, if someone described that a lot of people would know that's Flinder.
That's Flinder.
Right?
Award winning, multi award winning. They'll go, oh, that's Flinder. That's,
yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And when you started building your brand, so when you came to me, you'd been in business for 6 months. It was you and Luke set up. You had a couple of team members. You came to me and you were like, actually, I know I want to take this into the stratosphere. We worked together, but what gaps did you think that you needed to fill that you weren't 100% sure on? Why would you seek out getting some support with marketing and branding? Why did that happen?
Yeah. So I think I'd first off caveat and say we still have gaps,
Yeah.
and it's not an overnight. It's not an overnight fill. Yeah, it's completely a journey, and we're still on that journey. And even last night, I fell asleep struggling to think of the best way to frame a 2 to 3 page flyer for our partners to demonstrate the real value in a very short, succinct way for them to then pass on to kind of end prospects. So it's an ongoing journey, right? But I think the first reason, well, first of all, I was at Accountex. The first time I'd ever been to Accountex, I felt like a kid in a candy store. I'm from PwC. You're kind of quite insular in PwC. You don't really see what's going on in the rest of the world. You look at Deloitte, Accenture, kind of as competitors in the consulting world. And so for me, it was kind of like, wow, there's this whole new kind of, ecosystem. And I heard, Amanda, you talk for about 5 minutes at the back. I think it was in Dan Richards, my firm's app space, talking for 5 minutes, and the stuff you were saying kind of really resonated with me. And so I don't think I wasn't there going, we have a huge gap in our marketing. So it wasn't me identifying, even though I have a background in some other businesses that have brand has been very important, and I've got experience and exposure of what brand is, and how valuable branding and the brand voice is. And so we weren't necessarily looking for it, but I heard you talk for 5 minutes, and I don't know whether you were talking for 45 minutes or an hour, but that 5 minutes was enough for me to go, all right, I can move on. I need to go and find Amanda in wherever she is at the end of her talk, right?
Yeah.
So I came along and I spoke to you in that booth for literally, again, about 5 minutes. And I was like, well, let's have a conversation, because I think you can really add value and help clarify our messages to who we're trying to sell to, and probably also help clarify our own thinking in terms of that, because we came out from PwC with all these grand ideas, and when we first spoke, and I was probably telling you what the next 5 years looks like, you're probably
totally
like, what is this guy on about? Like, what, like, really?
Passion. It was
passion.
It was
passion. So I think, at that point it was around helping, and I think that's what marketing is. It's around clarifying your message for who you're trying to speak to. It's to find those people in the crowd that you really want to target, and it's around having a really clear message and those kind of short, bite-sizable steps to get to marriage, and to the dating, get to marriage, the kind of teasing along the way. And so I think that's probably where and how it started. It was and actually you applied marketing principles on me that we now try and apply on our clients. So we talk about things that are probably pain points, but maybe they realize, maybe they don't realize. They've probably got some internal pains and some external pains. And it's about hitting home on both of those types of pains, the different manifestations of them.
Okay, so I'm just going to,
since then.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop you there because one of the reasons why we're doing this interview is because I think that my clients can learn so much from you and the stuff you've implemented. So can we just talk a little bit about understanding your ideal client's pains being pivotal in the success of marketing? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Can I expand on? So actually, I think going back is probably going a step before that is probably important to most accountants, and going, who are you actually trying to sell to? Yeah. And who should you be working with? Who do you want to work with? And who can pay you? I think you have a good Venn diagram of three circles that shows in the middle of kind of your sweet spot, of who can pay you, who values you, and who do you enjoy working with, or something like that.
Or who can you help? So who can help, who can pay you? And the other one that I've got, actually, I've added one in, is can you find them easily? Because nothing's more frustrating than not being able to find your ideal client easily. Yeah.
And I think if you know that industry, that sector, that client well enough, you will always find them. It's kind of my view on it. So if you can't find them, it's probably because you don't know that sector well enough and can't actually deliver the value, most probably. But I think I'd almost go back and go, who is your avatar? Who do you want to sell to? Which I think was one thing that, we were probably a little bit fuzzy around that. I think everyone, when they start on day one or early stage, they're like, they just attracted to everything in a skirt, apologies for the kind of, or everything in trousers, whichever way.
That's okay.
Whichever way you swing, right? But you kind of just chase anything and everything. And I think to begin with, we didn't do that, but if something fell in our lap, then we'd be like, hey, it's revenue, it's fees, it pays the bills, let's do it. And so, everyone gets caught in that trap, I think, unless you've got a really cushy bank balance to save you from that, which I don't think is a bad thing. You learn and evolve as a business as you go through that. So I think finding and understanding your avatar is really important. And we established we had 4 avatars in our business. Or today we have 4 avatars in our business. That is entrepreneurs. And so those that set up businesses, they're entrepreneurial, they've got fast growth, they get equity backing, and that's our primary avatar. That is who we sell and we run finance functions to. Primary avatar, yeah? And we'll come back to that and some of the other pains that they have. Other avatars were CFO and other C-suites like COO that might want to transform a finance function in a larger business. So it could be, they might have 15 people in their finance function already. They might want better information, so we could deliver a dashboard to them. They might want to transform it because they're running on an old archaic finance system. So we might do a transformation program and system implementation, et cetera, et cetera. The other one, which we kind of inherited, as on here, we've got accountants in practice. And that's kind of actually, because we're building a brand, a lot of people sign up to our newsletters that are accountants in practice and want to see and read and hear about us. So we figured, let's turn that into an avatar and do something specific for them. And then the fourth one, which has actually served us the best over the last 2 years, is to realize that one of our avatars is our future employees, our candidates, our team. And that's a really important point in our growth, because we always say that people are we're a people business. Despite all the technology, we're a people business. People are the engine to growth. And for us, value and culture is the oil in that engine, right? So it really, really does power it. But what we did was we really opened ourselves up and said, okay, let's sell ourselves to this fourth avatar and talk about what it's like to work in Flinder. What does a 12-month journey of a team member look like? What do our ski trips look like? What do our summer trips look like? Summer events look like? What's a day in the life of look like? All the meanwhile focusing on what's the channel they're going to view this on. And attracting the right talent to the business. And now we went from really struggling 2 years ago with paying exorbitant recruitment fees to now, we get a number of applications each week, if not each day, to the business, which, it takes me so long to sift through them. But actually, it's our last, I think, 3 senior hires have all come directly, and we've negated any fees, any recruitment fees at all. Which would have cost us in the region of probably 60 to 70,000 pounds for those hires,
Okay.
for the recruitment fee for those. That's
And you,
huge. That is.
that's really big. And do you put that down to the content marketing that you've been doing and the positioning in the marketplace of you being a really great firm to work for? Is that where that's come from?
I think there's two parts, right? So you can have all the content, but
Yeah.
if there's no substance there, it's meaningless, right? So so absolutely, like, you need to have a base of being an awesome firm, which is what we're trying to build.
Yeah.
But and then pushing the content out that marries up to that. I think if you just have the content and no substance behind it, but I mean, somebody puts out a newsletter every week, right? And I'm sure there's some tax accountants on here, and whilst it's, you know, hugely relevant and you know, very important, your end user who's a business is probably finding that quite dull, unless there's a spin on it, which makes it, you know, fun, or makes it more engaging somehow. If it's dry and whatnot, then they're probably not going to read it, and so, you know, it's probably not hitting the right sweet spot, and not engaging. So it needs to be engaging. Yeah,
engaging is very, very important. I would also say that you have had fun with it. A lot of accountants come to me and they feel very overwhelmed and stressed because they have to do marketing. Whereas you, Alastair, I remember when we went skiing and you were like, "Welcome to my crib," and you had lots of fun, and you took the real world into your, well, I suppose, the fake world into your real world. So with regards to MTV Cribs and all that kind of thing, where did you come up with these ideas? How do you get to be so creative? Because that wasn't my idea. That was definitely yours.
Yeah, so that was mine. I mean, we have Amy in the business who's very good at turning my concepts into reality.
Yeah.
But actually, a lot of the ideas come from me. So some of it's just like I wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning with an idea. Some of it is I may have been inspired by something else. I mean, the MTV Cribs, as a kid, I used to watch MTV Cribs, right? And so I thought it'd be a cool idea to do that. Some people will hate it. But actually, it's had like 7,000 views of that video clip, right? Yeah. Actually, that was a bit of fun. The people that are viewing it, are they really our end avatars? Probably not. There's probably some people scrolling through, but nonetheless, it still shows a story of who we are as a company and who we are as a brand. And actually, a load of employees comment on that and love it. You know, prospective employees, and they want to work with us. So already, us putting out that video, which has nothing to do with accountancy, puts us in a different league than someone who doesn't have a YouTube channel, someone that doesn't have put that stuff on Instagram, or even has one, but puts out stuff more focused on, I don't know, like tax, selling overseas, or whatever it is, right? We're injecting personality into it, and I think you need to be authentic, and you need to inject personality into the marketing. I love marketing because I think it's a huge, and building a brand, because, well, one, building a brand has huge amount of inherent value in it. If you come to exit, if you come to attract candidates, if you come to attract clients, right? Building a brand, and it takes time to build the brand. So you should start now, because in 12 months time, even if you've done a little bit, it will snowball. You'll have had videos up there for 12 months. You'll have had views coming in from that. And then you'll look back 12 months and go, actually, yeah, we've come quite a long way. But yeah, so for us, it's around, you know, adding personality to it. So a lot of that stuff just comes from us as having personality in the team. You know, we have some structure around it. Of course, we have a Monday morning all hands marketing meeting where we talk tactical. We talk about what's the open rate for our newsletter, what's the subject for the week ahead, or how much of that's been written already. We kind of we now look at those 2 months ahead, and then we have a more strategic monthly 3M, so monthly marketing meeting, which is a couple of hours long, and we talk about much more strategic things in the business in terms of signature systems, models, how we can convert, as we were talking about before, how we can convert a specific problem or a problem statement from a client into a vision and a proposition. So we're very much focused now on propositions. Nice. So take fast growth businesses. A lot of those need EMI option schemes in place for their people, right? In itself, quite a dry, dull, boring topic, but actually it's a problem for most of the fast growth businesses. We develop a proposition around how we can serve that as a solution. Excuse me, our pricing model, etc. And then a good example, just last week we sent out an email to only the avatar that this is relevant to. So we're now not just sending a newsletter every week, we're sending different newsletters depending on the audience. So our accountants would have got a video from me and Luke talking about how we ran our business in lockdown. And then clients and prospects would have got one on EMI option schemes. So they get segmented. We've segmented the audience, so we send specific things. We one of the team wrote a blog, which was obviously reviewed by me in terms of brand language, a blog which was some like 7 mistakes to avoid in setting up an EMI scheme. That went out on the blog, it went out in the newsletter, and straight away on Tuesday, we had a couple of clients coming back to us. So already, and in terms of work, that's probably a £3,000-4,000 piece of one-off work for each client. And so we're pushing that as a proposition at the moment. So then we'll record a video. We'll do a video probably as well on what those 7 points are and some other things. So we're developing kind of specific bubbles of marketing around propositions and pain points for our avatars as well.
Amazing. So this sounds like a lot of work, Alastair. I find marketing pretty easy. You make it sound like you find it pretty easy as well. But why should the accountants and CPAs that are listening to you today, why should they even be putting aside an hour on a Monday and a couple of hours a month to do marketing? Because whilst yes, it helps you get clients, they don't have the time. They're working in the business. Can you explain a little bit about why you feel it's such a big priority, how you make the time, all that kind of thing? Any insights on that would be really useful for them.
So I don't think it's easy, right? So
make it look easy, Alastair.
Yeah. So there's a difference, right? There's a perception, right? But let me give you an example. For every video that's nice and polished, there are 20 takes behind it, right? I think Jamie pushed out something recently where we recorded in front of a Marks and Spencer's in a train station for an article that I wrote, and we had people walking in front of us. We had Jamie laughing, we had me laughing, forgetting the words. And it was about 2 minutes of kind of, roll there that was just like complete screw up. So it happens. It's not easy. You've got to work at it. My job in the business, fancy title is chief dreamer, but my job is to look at the next thing in the business. It's to, I don't really like the word disrupt, but it's to think differently to how other accountants are thinking or other service firms are thinking. And whether that's technology, whether that's solutions, whether that's a different way to attract or be seen or be heard, or a joint venture, or whatever it might be, it's to look forward, not look here and now. And so we have very clear roles and responsibilities split between me and my business partner, Luke. He's chief delivery officer. He looks after the here and now in terms of the day-to-day delivery of the portfolio of clients, which is disaggregated amongst teams and business advisors and stuff. But ultimately, it'll roll up to him unless there's an exception that needs to come to me. So he looks after a lot of that, which means I can look forward. So I think if we didn't have that split, and you don't have to split it between 2 people. If you've read Rocket Fuel, it works brilliantly when you've got a visionary and an integrator. So it does work well. And my recommendation to anyone would be find your integrator. Most people that are on the marketing call will probably be the visionaries, right? Find your integrator, whether that's an employee or a business partner or an equal. So find that. If you can't, and if you don't, or if you don't want to for any reason, you need to split up your time. And quite often what you'll do is you'll find that marketing is left at the bottom of your to-do list, and all your client work comes first, and then you'll get to marketing. But here's a tip for you. Your client work will never stop. It will never give you the time and flexibility. So you need to treat marketing like a client. You need to treat your own business like a client, and you need to block out the time in your diary, to do that. And for people that say, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, well, actually, then the question is, do you want to grow your business, right? You may grow your business by 5%, 10% every year if you want to, and that's fine. And there's plenty of very successful, happy entrepreneurs or accountants doing that, which is great. I'm very happy for them. Personally, as a business, I didn't leave PwC to set up a lifestyle business. I left PwC in a really strong career on day one with no clients, no salary, no revenue, no staff, with Luke, to grow a business and to grow it as fast as we can. I think it was last year we had some like 270% growth in the business. And we're growing very fast. We've got 22 team members now, something like that. 2 years ago we had like 4 of us. So it is pretty rapid. But it's about growth, And if you want growth, you have to understand what will get you growth. More of the same won't get you growth, and more of the same with your clients. You'll deliver, that's great, but that's steady. if you want the growth, you have to invest and do something differently. And for us, it's around building a brand, and it's around marketing, whether that is focusing on a referral program, and you can put content in there for your partners or referrers to help you out,
Yep.
Or whether it is videos targeted at your specific audience, or whether it's blog articles or whatever it might be. The more content you have, the more of a flywheel effect you will have, and be building a brand, and people will see you, hear you, notice you, and you'll be there. I was listening to a book yesterday, an audiobook yesterday, and it was about newsletters, and interesting. And I was walking around the village listening to it, as I do, listen to audiobooks a lot. And I sent Jamie, our marketing associate, senior associate, a message, and I said to him, because we'd only just reviewed that week, the week before's newsletter open rate. And I said to him, it was 42%, which is pretty decent. And I said, Jamie, this audiobook I've just listened to says it doesn't actually matter if people open it or not. It's the fact it's delivered. And obviously we want people to open it and read our content. But even if it's delivered, they know, they remember you, they see you. Yep. If they remove themselves, then they're never going to buy from you. But if they delete it, if they just don't read it, they see Flinder, or they see whichever your company name is. And when they need you, they will come back to you. And I've got a brilliant story on that, right? So we've got these stickers on the back of our MacBooks. Yeah. I can't show you because it's on the reverse of this. But essentially, it's a sticker. It says, it's got Flinder. It's a big sticker of Flinder. It's our web address. And it's got some of the awards that we've been involved in as well. And I was on a train about 12 months ago into London into Waterloo. And there was a chap sat in front of me. Didn't know him, never spoke to him. And about 4 months ago, he got in touch with me out of the blue, and I was like, incidentally, he's now since become a client, and it's quite a decent sized client. It's about 40K a year client fee. And I said, how did you get in touch with us? What was the source? Because I always want to know what the source is. Is it a client referral? Is it social media? Is it something? And he said, I was sat opposite someone on a train on the way in, about a year ago, and he had a sticker on the front of his laptop, and I googled it at the time, and or looked it up, and it said what you do, and he said, well, I didn't need anything there. We had an in-house finance team of 3 people, so I kind of filed it away in my memory. He said, but now we've kind of changed our finance function structure, and they've kind of disbanded an in-house team. It made me think of it, googled it, got in touch with you, and there you go. And those stickers cost us something like £7. Yeah. And that's the power of marketing. You don't have to, it's just being little places everywhere.
Yeah, and it's the omnipresence of everywhere your ideal client is turning. You need to be there, and that comes back to knowing who your ideal client is. If there was one thing that you would recommend that accountants and CPAs do when it comes to marketing, would it be creating content? Would it be, doing videos, writing articles, being on Twitter, being on LinkedIn? What's your advice there, Alastair? Because you are omnipresent, you are everywhere. What would you recommend that they do and start with?
So it obviously depends where your avatars hang out, right? So for example, I was on a webinar this morning with Della Hudson. So she's a prolific tweeter, and I think she probably picks up quite a lot of clients from Twitter. We wouldn't, right? I use Twitter for banter, for fun, for laughs, that sort of stuff, right? It'd be very rare if we pick someone up from Twitter. LinkedIn, we do a lot more than that. We put a lot more emphasis into our Flinder page on LinkedIn, which we're about 5 short of 1,000. We're trying to grow that. And we talk quite a lot about what we do, the way we do things on there. And we've picked up people either from the Flinder page or my page. We've picked up prospects and clients through that. So that's been important for us. But actually what I would say is the number one thing I would suggest is develop a signature system. And the reason I say that is because it gives you something to talk about, right? And it gives you a frame of reference. It makes you look like an expert. It means you can talk through points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many you've got. Yeah. And it gives you an air of authority to be able to talk confidently and give keynote speeches on it. It means you can do videos on it. You can break it up into different segments and have spin-off signature systems. But I think having a point of view on what you do, whether it's you transform a business, whether it's you help them set up a business plan, whatever it is, if you have a signature system, a visual representation of how you approach what your plan is, it gives confidence to people, and it gives you security of being able to talk around those points as well. So I think whether it's a video, whether it's a blog article, whether it's writing for someone else or your own blog or newsletters, develop a signature system, and then that gives you loads of content to be able to talk around.
Yeah. And the signature system is something that I would say is quite unique with what I teach, because most people talk about marketing for write this article, write that. I like to turn it around and go, right, what is it that you do? What is the step-by-step process that you help people with? And how can we then articulate that so it actually makes you look organized rather than the same as every other accountant? And actually our friend Carl Reeder posted, I think it was this morning or yesterday, about how many accountants on their website are saying, I'm not your typical accountant. And that's how to date they have differentiated themselves, by telling the world they're not different. But Alastair, nobody can have a signature system like you have, a methodology like you have, because it's unique to you and you can register that as intellectual property. When you were creating your signature system, when you were working on that, how did you know what it is that you wanted to share? What kind of process did you go through with that to make you unique? Because that is how you differentiate yourself.
Well, I can't actually quite remember. But
it was a couple of years ago that we worked.
Yeah, it was. But it was really interesting. So at PwC we call these methodologies, and I never really twigged when we set up Flinder about. And PwC have all these 2x2 matrices and triangles and all sorts, right? And it never twigged to me when we set up that we needed a visual representation of our methodology until we started working together. And then obviously you call them signature systems, signature because they're quite unique to the individual. And we spent a lot of time developing what we call the Flinder effect, right? And that is it's the way we, it's the one that's got the way we transform a finance function. But two, it's got kind of these 9 pillars around how we view and assess the finance function as well. And that was one that we got a beautiful video on it. That Jamie created. Again, it all came from my mind, facilitated by you, came from my mind. Jamie kind of made the animation of it.
Beautiful. Yep.
And that was about 18 months ago. So we had the signature system called the Flinder effect. Right now, and again, we track all this data, we have 14 different signature systems in our business, right? So we have one around how we run our clients internally. We call that metamorphosis. It's how we transform them internally. We've got our, some of these are classified at the moment. We've got one we released yesterday called The Difference. That is the way we coach and school our people to make them different to any other accountants in practice, our way, talking about data, talking about transformation, and that then makes a difference for our clients as well. We've got The Journey, which is the way we pick up a business that's a startup and take them through that entrepreneurial journey to a scale up. We've got the first 50 days with Flinder, which has got 6 different sections on what we do, when we do, and we help that in the sales process so they know exactly what they're going to get and when they're going to be fully onboarded.
Nice.
We've got a load of these different examples, but they're really powerful. It gives you something to talk about, and it gives your prospects or your clients real confidence that you know what you're doing. That's really powerful. How did we actually do this? I don't know. And now it just comes naturally, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. It's a muscle and you get used to doing it. And one of the things when my clients and my potential clients talk about creating content that they struggle with is coming up with ideas or being able to actually speak on a video. I find it very easy to speak on video because like you, I put signature system around everything. So I would draw a triangle and have in my mind the image of the triangle with the 3 points that I want to get across. And when I visually have it in my mind, I can then verbally talk about it because I have that signature system in my mind. And it makes it very easy to talk around content because it's not just words, it's also an image that you're talking around at the same time. It makes such a huge difference.
I think so. And I can see how some people may struggle with this, so accountants probably aren't stereotypically best known for being
creative,
more creative and more visual people, right? They're probably more wordy people, I would have thought. So if you're not visual, I would almost say sit down, record it, right? Record it on your phone or have someone speak to you and ask you questions about it that can maybe then turn that into something more arty. And that might be a way to do it, I would suggest, if somebody doesn't have that creativity streak in them.
Yeah, and it's also learned. So 10 years ago, I didn't create signature systems. Now, every time I do a video, I think about it as a signature system. So I want to talk about content. So when I launched the Content Lounge, for example, I had to come up with a signature system for it. I couldn't just say, ooh, it's just about content. I had to have things. So it was content, technology, and amplifying the content. And that was the signature system for it. Momentum has a signature system, you know, velocity, signature system. All of these things make it very easy to say, you know, this is where you start and this is where you'll finish when you work with us. And I think, Alastair, for you, exactly with the flinder effect, for example, it's all about the transformation of your ideal clients, you know, where they'll come to you and where they'll possibly leave you or carry on working with you. And having that signature system gives you the opportunity to show how you transform lives rather than just tactically help. And that's the difference with your firm, is it's transformational. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Just as we're talking here, can I share on this? Can I
Yeah,
share?
you should be able to. I hope you can.
Let me share this with people. So this is one of our newer ones that we've come up with. I don't know if that's live now. If
It is live indeed.
So this is it's a readiness assessment for fast growth businesses. Essentially, what we're doing here, we've got three, and so it's quite complicated in terms of the signature system. So we wanted to break it down and break it down further. So essentially, there's three steps to it. We've got inputs, a process, and then value on the top, right? So value, in other words, what people get out of it. But each one of these is subcomponents. So in the inputs, we bring Flinder thought leadership. We need inputs from them and their finance team. We need to understand what the as-is processes are, and we want to capture some data and some volumetrics from the business to understand kind of how much data is going through it. And then the actual steps in the process are, we've got a discovery call, a diagnostic questionnaire, a health check, and a rapid process walkthrough workshop. So they're everything we do. And then we give this value back to them. So they'll get a gap analysis of where they are at the moment to where they should be. Quick wins will tell them, you know, the half a dozen or so quick wins that they can implement themselves. Then a clear roadmap that will say some of the longer term things in the next 12 months. And then for the VC, we'll deliver a portfolio heat map in terms of how good their portfolio is in different areas. But again, this is, you know, this, now we've got this, we can have this as a proposition. We can talk easily to VCs, we can talk easily to their portfolio, and we can talk about specific topics in here around diagnostic questionnaires, around what we see as kind of results from health checks in general. You know, there's loads of content that can come out of this as a signature system. So it's really, really powerful to be able to
and one of the things that I really get from that is that one of your team can come along and talk about it too, because you've taken what's in your head, you've put it down on a piece of paper, you maybe recorded a video on it, and then you can give that to your team and they can start to articulate exactly how they help people without going, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say to someone when they phone in. I think a great example of how a signature system really helps your team is when we were doing the ACCA roadshow, weren't we, back in October, and two of the dates where I was talking, two of the dates I couldn't make. So Trent had to give my presentation. Because my presentation was my signature system, he actually heard me deliver it once and then could deliver it for the 2 days that I wasn't there and I was elsewhere giving a talk. So it enables you to multiply what you do. And also Trent did phenomenally well with it. He'd never heard me give that talk before, but because he had the methodology to talk around, it was really easy for him, you know, and he doesn't even work in my business. And that is the power of taking your ideas and turning it into a physical piece of content.
Yeah, it's a great framework for your team, for your clients to understand, for you to just be able to pick, as an individual, to be able to pick up, to talk about, to pick apart on screen, on stage. Yeah, hugely powerful. I still think Trent should have had a blonde wig on, but hey.
I agree. I totally agree. But there you go. He was actually better at it than I was, I'm sure. He had more guts. He got everyone chanting vital, didn't he, in the room or something? I can't remember. I didn't do that, but they've been nagging me to do it ever since. Okay, so really interesting. What I'm taking away from what you're saying is, one, it doesn't come easily. But you do it and you keep doing it and you try. Two, you set aside time for marketing. You don't try and fit it in. You make it as a priority. Would you say that's right? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 is the power of the signature system, which I would say is kind of my secret sauce for my clients anyway, because being able to unpack your intellectual property and turn it into content is absolutely phenomenal. something I've picked up from what you're saying, and hopefully so have others, is that there's not just one piece of content. You don't just create one blog, or you don't just create one video. It's weaving everything in and having lots of different ways, so people can watch what you do, they can listen to you, they can read, they can interact, because you have diagnostic tools, all that kind of thing. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The other thing I would say, everybody's got different size of teams. I'd say embed a culture of marketing into your team as well, because it's not a solo effort; it's a team effort. And the more people involved, the greater the magnification of that effort will be. So absolutely get everyone involved. We've now, so for the last year and a half, it's been me writing a blog every single week, a newsletter every single week. And some of those do take a long time. The ones for accounting web do take me a long time. There's a lot of deep analysis in those, and reviewing stats and understanding what went wrong in businesses. But I think sharing that out, which is what we've started to do to the team, is really a way of making it more scalable.
Yeah.
But it's all about, think of this as an asset, right? You are building intellectual property, intangible assets here. I think absolutely think of it like that. It really is. The more you have, the more powerful you are as a business, the more you have as a brand.
Yeah.
So think of it as building assets, and maybe even read 24 Assets by Daniel Priestley. It's a great way to understand kind of the power of building those assets, I think. But also, I think, there's a lot of noise out there. I don't know how many, 40,000 accountants or accounting firms. There's a lot of noise out there. In the eyes of a customer, in the eyes of a business, many of them think we're just there to file accounts or tax returns, yeah? And there's obviously, we all know that's not true. We all know it's about delivering a message and delivering and playing on the value that our end customer cares about. And all of our clients, my clients, are probably very different to the sweet spot of other people listening here in terms of what they value. I think marketing is all around being absolutely clear and cutting through the noise and all the bullshit and all the waffle around what you're there to do and the value you're going to deliver. That is really the important thing to remember. It's about clarity of message.
Yeah. And you sharpen your clarity tool in the marketplace. You don't sharpen it in your mind. You have to create content to get your clarity in your mind, but also help the marketplace get clear.
I think going through the exercise, and it's like this for awards as well. It's not the winning of awards. It's going through the exercise, right? That helps you understand your strategy better. So if you go through the exercise of marketing, it's not always about actually what you're telling someone else. It helps you understand internally where our goals and what our marketing strategy is and who we're trying to sell to and what we're trying to talk about and what the value is we deliver. You personally gain a lot of clarity around it, I think, as a business when you go through this. So
Amazing. One more thing. If you could give the listeners today one piece of advice, what would you say it would be? So something that they could maybe action today to help them with content marketing and brand building and marketing in general. What would it be?
I think it comes back to, well, I wouldn't say one thing. I always break the rules, right? That's what a rebel is.
I know.
So I would say figure out exactly who your avatar is, what their pain points are, and develop a signature system around it. Because that's the hard work. The rest should fall out of that as being your content. That because then your content is really hits the nail, hard on the head. And the stuff you're sending in newsletters and blogs and videos, it doesn't have to be massively professional in terms of, like, you don't need green screens, you don't need a film studio and lighting. You just need to have a good message. And that message is good if it aligns to what your avatar is talking about, what their pain points are, and if you've got something as a structure and valid to say. So focus on your avatar, focus on your signature system.
Amazing. And my favorite saying is, if you can articulate your clients' pains better than they can articulate it themselves, you gain the right to help them. So start helping people articulate the pain that they're going through, help them get clarity, and then you gain the right to help them. They'll turn to you because you get them. That's what I find. Definitely my favorite saying, that is. Thanks, Alastair. It's been super, super useful. You've brought up some things that are my favorite, but most accountants can't get their head around, things like the signature system, and also about being prolific. You are prolific out there, and you work bloody hard to make it look perfect, even though it doesn't come easily, which, you know, you fool others into thinking that it does come easily. So it's brilliant.
We spend a lot of time and effort on it. You know, we track it, we monitor brand awareness, we track loads of metrics around it. And some of this stuff, you know, I say we work bloody hard on it. You know, some of these articles we write at weekends. You know, even though we've got dedicated time during the week, some of them just we need to go over and above on them. You know, I'll fall asleep thinking about what a signature system should look like. I'll wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning trying to figure out what a flyer should look like, or a web page, or what the real pain points are, or what the proposition is. It's not a quick 9 to 5. Well, being a business owner is not a 9 to 5 thing anyway. So,
No.
yeah.
And that's why you've gone from a team of 2/3 of you to a team of 24. Did you say now?
We're 22 now, yeah. 22.
Yeah, 2.5 years, and it grew rapidly in the first 18 months, and it's because of the effort that you put in. If only it were as simple as 9 to 5. God.
Yeah, but we're only scratching the surface as well. So, you know,
Exactly.
there's a lot more. It's exciting because there's a lot more to come. It's a really, really great journey to be on. And you know, anyone that's listening in an accounting firm, marketing is totally and utterly undervalued. And so if you want to differentiate yourself, you know, absolutely focus on marketing.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Let's say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll stop the live stream. So thanks everyone in the Content Lounge who has joined us today. We've had a couple of people say Tim Seymour, Emily, you know Emily Inman as well. She's one of your rebels as well, I think, isn't she? So great conversation. Alastair, thank you for your time. I know it's very precious and you have lots going on in your life. So I really appreciate you showing up and sharing your insights from us working together, and also how you're taking that moving forward. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. If anyone wants to see more of what we do, then follow us on LinkedIn, or even connect with me if you've got any specific questions. Drop me a note through. But yeah, follow us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter.
On Twitter, just Google Flinder or Google Alastair Barlow, and both will come up. So awesome. Well done. Thanks. Bye.